Hey everyone, my name is Jamila and I will be talking about Venus opposing Pluto in Synastry. This is what you would call the missing link, as it is a powerful dynamic between, Pluto and Venus. So this is my astrological perspective on it. Now, I'm going to start with talking about what Venus represents and what Pluto represents in astrology, and then I'm going to speak about the general scale of Venus and Pluto in Synastry. Then I'll go into the more specifics of like how it can play out in Synastry of the Venus opposing Pluto. I also want to mention that I may in due time redo this again, because often when I'm speaking about a aspect or synastry or anything in regards to astrology, there's always something that I forget that, I could have mentioned this and I could have mentioned that. So if I do feel that way, I definitely will do another video. But anyway, I have all my notes here because I tend to be forgetful. My Mercury is in Pisces, so I kind of float in and float out. So let's do it. Okay, cool. So I also want to say thank you to the individual that requested for this as well. Thank you for being supportive. And yeah, let's get into it. So in astrology, Venus is known as the planet of love, beauty, and harmony. It represents our desires and our attractions towards pleasure, sexuality, and the aesthetics as well. Because, Venus rules Libra and Taurus. And, Taurus is that central earth sign. So anyway, Venus is the arts. It's paintings, it's drawing, it's so many things. But anyway, so Venus is associated with our romantic relationships, our creative endeavors and material possessions. Again, Taurus, right? And obviously with Libra, the scales and partnerships and relationships. So there we have it. It also governs our social interactions, our values, and our personal tastes. So individuals that tend to have Venus placements prominently in their chart, they tend to exude like this charming, affectionate, and energy, and they tend to have a keen eye for beauty. So they could very well be someone that's into interior designing, for example. Or someone that's got heavy Libra or second house or seventh house activity, or Taurus rising. I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say. But of course, if Venus is afflicted, it can manifest as superficiality, dependency, and, overindulgence. It all depends. But this is just a general theme of Venus. We're not going to get into the whole technicalities of it. So, Venus is a significant planet in astrology. It provides insight into our emotional and our aesthetic needs. Okay, so let's go on to Pluto. So Pluto is one of the outer planets, and has a powerful influence on individuals' lives. It is often associated, transformation, power, and Pluto is an intense planet. So, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, which is a water sign, and it is fixed water, so it's still water, And Pluto can bring major changes, whether you're ready for it or not. Now, everyone has a different perspective on what they feel, which houses represent the conscious, the subconscious, and the conscious mind. Personally, from my research, I believe the first house is the conscious house. The 8th house is like the subconscious, and the 12th house is the unconscious. But of course, it varies depending on so many aspects involved in it. But anyway, cool. So, Pluto is our deep-seated desires. It's our fears. It's what influences us to take action and to make decisions. So people that have heavy Pluto in their chart, they are individuals with the most intense emotions, And of course, Scorpio individuals, whether you have a moon in Scorpio, a sun, or Venus, Mars, rising, so forth. But overall, Pluto's influence in astrology is complex and it's multifaceted, so multifaceted, sorry. So it represents, both the potential for transformation and growth, as well as the potential for destruction, and upheaval, because I'm sure, or if you have an understanding of, astrology, Scorpios can be self-destructive. They can end up burning themselves by stinging someone that they love. It happens. But anyway, so let's go into the general scheme. Theme, should I say. So when we have Venus colliding with Pluto in Synastry, sparks fly. Now, this is a very intense aspect to have, because you literally feel the pull. It's like a magnet. This is an opposing aspect, so they may very well see each other from across the room initially. You definitely can feel each other's presence for sure. Venus will definitely feel Pluto's presence. But anyway, sparks will fly and emotions will run wild in this romantic relationship. Now, of course, this can be a friendship as well. So you and this person could hit it off straight away. If it is a friendship, you might feel drawn to them. But please do bear in mind that if this is a friendship, either party could be jealous of one another. It could be one of those friendships where someone's envious of the other, or it could go the other way, where maybe you guys find that you have some sort of, you have some kind of common ground, you have some kind of traits that are familiar to one another, or insecurities, so to speak. So while Venus brings love, beauty, and harmony to the table, we have Pluto. Pluto enters with this transformation, obsession, and control. So together they create, like a cosmic tug of war that can leave both individuals drained, But it also depends on, how the person deals with their own personal power. Do the individuals involved have any Pluto aspects natally in their own charts? Are they familiar with this energy? Because it just depends, because it could go either way. If they don't, this could intimidate them and make them feel completely uncomfortable to the point that they want to run away. But anyway, so this aspect can create a deep attraction between partners, but it can also bring up power struggles and communication issues. Pluto may withhold how they feel. They may not say what's really on their mind, because they might feel like they might scare off Venus, so to speak. So Venus is kind of fetching, looking and watching and picking up any subtle vibe, like what's on Pluto's mind, like what's going on. So communication is very important here. Now, the Venus partner may feel like they're walking on eggshells around Pluto, because Venus is like go lucky, right? Venus is light, fun, doesn't want any drama, although with this aspect some emotions may be brought to the forefront that could instigate drama. Venus may start drama very well, even though that's not what Venus is all about. Now, while Pluto may feel like while Venus might feel like they're walking on eggshells, Pluto may feel like they're not getting the desired control, because, and this control doesn't need to be something out of pocket. This control just needs to be some sort of leverage, something to make Pluto feel validated, so Pluto feels needed, wanted, desired. So it's very important for both individuals to communicate their needs and desires in a healthy and respectable way, and to maintain a strong sense of self throughout the relationship, because it can get unhealthy, it can get toxic if people or the two individuals at hand are trying to have the upper hand. It can become horrible unnecessarily, especially because of we're dealing with two individuals that may have some insecurities, because this aspect can bring up those insecurities, especially if you think you're someone that's like, you don't have insecurities. You know, it may very well come out in this aspect of thinking, oh damn, I thought I was good, you know, I didn't think I had any insecurities. But then you meet this person and then they bring it up to the forefront. So individuals with this aspect in their synastry may feel attracted to each other at a very deep level. You know, this is a psychological attachment as well as a emotional attachment. You will think about each other even when you don't want to, because you have to remember Pluto is penetrating Venus. So you're both thinking about each other, whether you like it or not. So it's a push and pull, because although you may try to maintain open communication, you may both find it very difficult to express your feelings or communicate effectively with one another because you're both so fearful. Now, on the shadow side, this aspect can bring out passivity, you know, so you may find that you two are passive aggressive, so you might make smirk remarks and little jabs trying to communicate to one another what it is that you're really trying to say, what you really mean, what you really feel, instead of just coming out blatantly and just saying what it is. There may be some manipulation in the Venus partner and control, or manipulation in the Pluto partner. It can go both ways. It just depends. Now, both individuals should be aware of their tendencies and to work to balance it out. This does mean, you know, it can take hard work, but by having effective communication, this can lead to a powerful and transformative relationship. It's very important for both individuals to recognize these patterns and to work towards finding like a middle ground. Again, I can't stress enough that communication is key, and both individuals must learn to express their needs and desires in a healthy and respectable manner. If you don't have a strong sense of self, you can lose your way in this relationship. You definitely can. But of course, you know, there's many tools to help a interaction. You know, therapy, counseling can help navigating difficult aspects. But it all depends on how, you know, committed you are, you know, and the willingness to learn and grow from one another, you know, because having Venus opposing Pluto in synastry doesn't mean it's all doomed to fail. This aspect can be challenging, but it can also bring growth and, you know, transformation to both individuals. So even if you do not stay together, you will take these lessons. Well, you should anyway. You should take these lessons and apply them to future relationships, you know, things that didn't work out, or the way you approach something, or the way you behaved. It all just does depend on how you choose to handle the energy of this aspect. And if you're willing to work and communicate effectively, there can be a beautiful and strong bond between you and Pluto, you know, Venus and Pluto. But however, you know, if you allow these power struggles and these intense emotions to get the better of you and to consume you, it can lead to a toxic and unhealthy relationship. It all comes down to awareness. How aware are you of your psychological behavioral patterns, you know? Are you aware to know that, you know what, this isn't for me, this is unhealthy, I shouldn't be interacting with this, I shouldn't be messing around, you know? Because the person you're dealing with, they may be at the higher octave or lower octave of Venus or of Pluto, you know? Venus could be aware, especially if she's an evolved Venus, someone that's worked on themselves and they have a certain level of self-worth and self-love to know when to leave a relationship or leave a situation. So if we say, for example, Pluto is toxic, unhealthy, and he keeps trying to gaslight Venus, for example. Now, if Venus is aware of what's going on, she could be like, you know what, this isn't for me. You know, I need to let this go. Pluto, take care. I wish you the best. You know? But if she's unhealthy and she hasn't worked on herself, I mean, this goes both ways, by the way, because I'm sure Pluto's got some baggage that they also need to deal with. But again, it also depends on if this person has Pluto natally, you know, what's going on in their chart, and what is, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, and are they evolved, you know? Will they handle their personal power effectively? So now I want to go into, you know, the pull between Pluto and Venus, and how the smaller the degree, so if you have it at a 0 degree, you will feel this, no chump change. You're going to feel this, whether you like it or not. You may look at this person, even if you're not into astrology, you may look into this person and be like, why do I feel drawn to them? What is going on? So I'll say 5 degrees as well, you know, maybe 6. You could still feel it, but the smaller the degree, the more intense the dynamic is between the two individuals. Pluto is extremely attracted to Venus, or perhaps there isn't an attraction at all, but something about each other fascinates them, you know, whether they both admit it or not. Something's happening under the undercurrent, and waves are being formed. Now, whether these waves will start crashing and going crazy is another thing. But yeah, so Pluto's dominating nature allows it to take what Venus feels is missing. So this ultimately makes Venus feel inferior. However, when these two forces unite, they can become, you know, an unstoppable powerhouse. I've mentioned this earlier. These two honestly could make a difference in the world if they come together on a higher vibration. Because Venus, it's like having Venus in Taurus and Pluto in Scorpio. It's that opposition, isn't it? It's that missing piece, and either they can be drawn or they can repel each other. And that's the missing piece that Venus feels, and that's the missing piece that Pluto feels, you know? So, like I mentioned, opposites can either repel or attract, bicker and argue, attach, loss, you know, so forth. So we're talking about the 2nd and the 8th house axis here, you know, the energies. You know, the 2nd house is resources, finances, luxuries, and our worth and our values, you know, while the 8th house is being what we have to, what we have to take from the other, you know, money, shared resources, sex. This will play out in extremes because, you know, it's the opposition. This is why you'll often see Pluto do things, you know, naturally, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, just taking from Venus, and not deliberately taking, but, you know, Venus naturally will give things to Pluto, and Pluto will naturally kind of instigate that kind of energy and that vibe. I hope that's making sense. So, you know, Taurus is money, which is the 2nd house, and Pluto is the 8th house, which is other people's money. So, you know, Taurus is money, Pluto is other people's money. So Pluto is like, okay, Taurus's money is my money. I hope that makes sense. So also, the sex between these two individuals can be extremely transformative as well. You may find yourself doing things you've never done before. This is very intense. The encounters that they have intimately, very intense. Especially if we have Mars as well. Mars will ramp up everything because, you know, Mars is sex, right? And then you have Pluto, which is also sex. So very intense. It can be addicting. You may have flashbacks of each other intimately. Sex will be raw and lustful. Again, you will think of them all the time. And again, like I mentioned, if Mars is involved, heavy, heavy, heavy. Now, when it comes to the Pluto and narrative with, oh, Pluto has the upper hand and the planet person doesn't, it all comes down to self-awareness. You know, we all have what's the word I'm looking for? So we all have free will, and it all depends on who we choose to have, on who we allow to have control over us. So What I will say is that yes, in some cases, Pluto definitely does have the upper hand, but it also depends on how self-aware the other person is as well. Because again, we all have free will. It all depends on how aware we are when it comes to our shadow selves, because our shadow selves will come out, but it all depends on how we handle the shadows that do come out. There definitely can be jealousy and intense reactions. They could do things to make each other feel validated, which Pluto won't be too happy about. So Pluto may do things to get a reaction out of Venus to see if Venus still cares, and then Venus may still do this. Venus may do the same thing too. There could be rage, arguments, obsession, not letting each other go, you could intimidate. If someone tries to move on, you could try to intimidate potential rivals as well. You could pop up on each other. There could be arguments about money. Venus could always feel like she's always giving Pluto money, or Pluto could be demanding money of Venus. That can happen. That could be the lower octave of it. Pluto doesn't trust and may feel Venus is, out of his lead or her lead or whatever, because of course Venus could be the guy, or whatever fits your narrative. A lot of mind games could be played as well, with the fear of losing one another. So they could do things that are that are out of themselves, things they wouldn't usually do to please the other person, using insecurities on one another to control the other, like, oh, well, they're not going to like you because this and that or whatever, just to keep someone there so they don't go anywhere, control. But definitely jealousy, even sometimes unnecessary jealousy, just seeing Venus or Pluto talk to someone either could get upset and feel intimidated. Stalking is another thing as well, watching social media, making fake accounts, watching their family's page, their friends' pages, driving through their local area, their neighborhood, just going to their local places where they might be so you can pop up on them or maybe bump into them. It's a very thin line between love and hate. This could be a continuous cycle of death and rebirth. In other words, breaking up, getting back together. It's not all doom and gloom. Like Venus opposing Pluto, it's not a bad aspect and synastry to have. It all depends on how self-aware you are, because you can become obsessive. You can think about them. It can become healthy. You can feel like you're losing your mind. Like, why can't this person get out of my head? It can go either way. But Venus can undermine Pluto for sure, which at times makes power struggles go back and forth. So Pluto could have certain blind spots that they're not seeing, that Venus sees and goes, oh, got you, I got you. You thought you could play around with me? Okay, I'm going to do this to defend myself, if that makes sense. Now, they can be emotionally invested in one another, like a ride or die, theme until the wheels fall off. Be very addictive, emotionally addictive. They could become codependent on one another because they could get into that pattern of self-destruction or attachment, of being used to this pattern of breaking up and getting back together. It all depends on how it plays out. It doesn't have to be unnecessarily healthy. Now, this can be equal give and take. It just depends. This could be one way, or flip it, or vice versa. You can see Venus being controlling, possessive, obsessive, calling the shots, and then Pluto might give his or her power to Venus, and then Venus could give up her power to Pluto. It can go back and forth. It just depends on what's going on and the situation that's going on at play here, or the topic at hand. It could be a different day where one day Pluto's got power, then the next day Venus has power. I hope that makes sense. A lot of emotional baggage can be brought up to self-worth, paranoia. What's the person doing behind my back? What are they doing? When I'm calling their phone, why didn't they answer my call? Are they cheating on me? Are they doing things? So many things can be brought up here. Air signs and fire signs won't particularly like this, because, air is detached at times. Fire wants to be free and independent, right? So they tend to run, but they tend to feel it more because of that. Now, and they may run. Now, water sign and earth signs, they may stick around, stand and walk into it, see what's going on, be intrigued by it. It just all depends, all right? But this is someone that you won't forget for sure. They will teach you a lesson, whether it's a hardcore lesson or a beautiful lesson, It's not all doom and gloom. But again, it all depends on the person's chart. If there's someone that has Scorpio in their chart, or 8th house activity in their chart, or Pluto, or they're Plutonian, someone that's got heavy Pluto aspect in their personal planets, they will love this kind of stuff. They will love this energy, this vibe, and they'll be used to it. So they may not pay attention to you like you may think they may do because of this synastry, because they're used to it. But if it's someone that's not familiar with it, then they will feel it heavier. But you both still feel it regardless. But yes, this is my perspective on Venus opposing Pluto. I'm sorry if I was waffling. I'm just trying to remember everything. I've got my notes here because sometimes freestyling doesn't go well for me. So, I hope you like this, and leave your comments below. I also have an astrology Instagram page where I post on there more often than on YouTube, but I am going to be consistent more and uploading a lot of content, specifically Pluto content, because I am a Plutonian. I have Pluto squaring my personal planets. My North Node is in Scorpio. My Jupiter, my Pluto. I exude 8th house Plutonian energy. So yeah, anyway, take care guys, and let me know if you have any questions or whatever in the comments. I'm going to be doing Venus conjuncts Pluto and other ones too. But take care. Peace out. A-Town. Bye.